Alright, what is going on everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another video. Today we had the next, I guess, edition in the Best Star Cards series. This one is for the heavies. I know we did Assault in our last video, but now we are on to Heavy, which is personally my favorite of all the classes. It's probably down to Heavy or Officer, and I went with Heavy over that. I remember last time, I think we started with weapons first. The first gun, the FWM B10, which, I mean, it's a decent starter weapon. There's definitely worse starter weapons out there, like, for example, the Specialist one, which, for the life of me, I can't think of it right now, but that was just a tough one to start off with. The next one we've got is the DC 15LE. The mods I like to run on it are the Reduced Recoil. The improved zoom is pretty good. I just don't use it too often for range, so it's not really my take. And then the exploding shot, which does just crazy amounts of damage. However, I sometimes like to take this off and just have nothing equipped, because I don't really think you need the exploding shot all the time. But odds are, if you're going to use this weapon, you're going to use it for the exploding shot. It overheats a lot faster with that exploding bullet as opposed to without it. Now this one, the 10K, is pretty much the exact same as the original 10. However, there are mod attachments for it. So the auto cooling, which is really nice, it'll just immediately start cooling down once you stop firing the weapon. The night vision, which there's not too many maps where night vision would really be useful. That would give you better sight than just your standard vision. And then we've got the ion shot. Now the ion shot is actually, the ion shot's actually very good for turrets, vehicles, shields, the big AT walkers, like if you're a stormtrooper trying to stop, I said that backwards actually. If you're trying to stop the AT walkers who are piloted by the stormtroopers, shoot those ion shots, and it does significantly more damage than if you were to choose regular blaster fire. It does, however, have reduced damage against troops, special units, and heroes. So basically all the things that aren't vehicles, it's got reduced damage on. The TL50, which is definitely my favorite. The two that I use are improved cooling and reduced spread. Now, reduced spread, I want to say, is a must. And improved cooling is also just, I mean, it's not really a must because it already has a ton of cooling. As you see, it's up there kind of at, what is that, 5 bars of cooling, and sure, it could be more, but actually I don't think, okay, well, it goes all the way up to 8 in the heavy class for cooling. However, 5 I don't think is bad at all. The reason I'm trying to down talk the improved cooling a little bit is because this is a great secondary attachment to have as that secondary fire. If you've ever used Iden Versio, you can't aim her weapon, and that's because if you click the left trigger to aim, you will fire her alternative shot, which does so much damage. It's like an impact grenade with a thermal detonator's radius. It's so good. However, with this gun, if you're not using it as her, it's not as good, obviously, because you're just a standard trooper. However, it's still amazing, and I definitely recommend it because there's a lot of situations in which it's really useful. And the new one, which is actually the T21, I was wondering if we were ever going to get this gun because it was in the original Battlefront, but we hadn't seen it since then. The things that I run are burst mode, which I will occasionally take off just because I think a burst can get kind of out of control with the recoil, and I want to hit all my shots rather than wasting weapon heat. And then the scope, which just honestly makes it easier to aim, but it's not necessary. The improved handling could be, I mean, I guess if I'm gonna take off burst mode, I'm gonna put improved handling on there. I don't use this one too often, to be completely honest. So I haven't experimented to see what works best. But if I were to guess, I would assume the scope is not as necessary because as a heavy, I mean, do you really need the scope unless you're just shooting mad distances? But the rate of fire on this is really low, so I don't think you'd be using it up close too often. But if you did, and you put it on burst mode, improved handling would give you less recoil, which to me sounds like a good idea, right? But at the same time, if you wanted to do burst mode and do long range with some heavy star cards, this would be like a sniper rifle, but for the heavy class. But either way, my overall pick for this is going to be the TL50 with a second to the DC15 LE, and then my third would probably be the T21. I just don't like the 10K that much. It's not my favorite weapon. It's let me down a couple times. Anyway, that's going to be it for the weapons. Let's move right on to the star cards. Now, in the last video, I do remember saying that some of these star cards are going to be the same as a previous class, and there's only so much they can change. Typically, it's these up here. So we've got the gain a small amount of score for each hit that you take. So let's say you get shot once, you get 9 score. Or let's say you've got it up to 4, 6, or 7 for the level that card is. In this case, I'm just going to be sticking with the purple level for all of them to make it easy. We've got Brawler, which is when you defeat an enemy in melee combat, you actually get 100 health, which this is really nice for the specialist class. That's really the only class I'll use this one for. The take reduced damage when critical health. Like I said in the last video, this one is very similar to Grievous's. I think it's like his 90%. Like once he gets to 90% health, he has, or not 90%. Once he goes down to 10% health, he has like 90% damage reduction or something crazy like that. It's very similar to that, but obviously not as severe, and you don't have as much health to work with, so you could still be a one-shot if you get low enough. Marksman, we've got the heat reduction of 40% if you were to defeat an enemy with a headshot. I'm not sure why I was thinking there. The Resourceful, that is like Maul's ability that allows him to recharge his stuff a whole lot faster. This can be very helpful, and it's one of the main cards that I swap out for occasionally, but I just don't have it on at this very moment in time. Bounty Hunter, again, like in the last video, I pretty much keep this one all the time because I don't really play trooper based anymore. I mean, you could see I'm level 204 with a heavy. I've put in my time with the regular trooper classes. I'm starting to get some more hours with heroes, specialists, tanks, pretty much anything but the standard troopers. So Bounty Hunter is pretty big for me, and heck, it may even be big for you. This one, Expert Weapons Handling. I don't actually typically use this one too much, but I am typically using the TL50, which is crazy good at weapon cooling. Like it's very hard to miss the gold or even the blue line. If you hit the red line, it's honestly probably because you're not paying attention while you're using the weapon, and that's fine. It's not like negative in any way. There's a lot that's going on in the battle at one time, so you could be maybe looking at a tank or capturing a command post or checking a corner to make sure no one's coming, and you genuinely just miss the weapon cooling. That's fine. It's just I personally don't usually need that extra, I guess, extra cooling. So if I were to hit the gold, I don't need those extra seconds for gold. I'm fine just hitting the blue. Next one, Survivalist. The health regeneration delay is shorter than normal, so rather than waiting a full minute to get your health, you wait, 20 seconds, or I'm not going to do the math, 40%, that's a little, it's late here, I'm not going to do that math, but this one's a must for me most of the time as well. Then we've got our actual deployable kind of stuff, our improved impact grenade, which has the blast radius as 6, whereas the normal, I believe it's either 4 or 4.5. Not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. Then we've got our improved combat shield. These two are very common. Like if I'm going to switch out my barrage, I'm going to switch it out for the increased shield health or for the better impact grenade. Though they're both very good cards because it takes the shield from its normal. I believe that one's also, it's either 100 or 150. Again, I can't remember. But it does take it up to 300, which is beautiful. People will shoot at heavies a lot of the time that have shields, and they'll just keep shooting because they think that after 100 hit points, the shield's going to disappear. But if you have this card on, it's obviously going to be triple that. So they'll keep shooting, and then you'll get the upper hand, and you'll be able to kill them before your shield actually ever breaks. Then our Ion Torpedo. This is very, very, very useful. Just like the Ion Turret, in those game modes where, like I was saying, you're trying to stop an AT walker, or you're trying to take down, I'm trying to think of what all it targets. I mean, even if you're not trying to take down AT walker, let's say you're the one escorting the walker, and you've got these ships that are flying around that are just doing tons of damage to the AT walker. The ion torpedo and the ion turret are very good at taking out those ships, or even those speeders, the tanks, just whatever there is on the field does a ton of damage. The detonite charge, which is one of my favorites as Han Solo. However, as a heavy, I don't find myself using it too often. But there's the stats for it right there. The mobile sentry, I found this one to be very useful. I used it pretty recently, and it's really good on that Hoth map where you can just move around while you're laser beaming the AT walker. And even good for supremacy too, because you could lock down a point and move around more frequently as you're using that sentry gun. It makes you a lot harder to hit. The barrage, which has a pretty crazy long recharge time with 32 seconds, whereas a lot of these things are 25 and under. I mean, like this one 18, this one 18, another 18, 13 even. So 32 seconds is quite a bit, but it is one of the better abilities in my opinion. So on top of having an impact grenade, which already comes standard, you don't get the improved one obviously, but you get a standard one. You can have this in your shield ability, so those close quarters combat, let's say Naboo or any of the capital ships, or let me think. I mean, really any close quarters map. I can't think of them all right now, but I mean, this is really good for those types of things. Which is why it's one of my main three. These are my main three right here, the ones that are selected. Then we've got the supercharged sentry. Again, this is one that it's useful. You just have to find the right scenario to use it, or you could get marked pretty easily. I find that once you use these, unless you're using the mobile one, you do tend to become a target for snipers, because you can see laser beams so easy in really any of the modes, especially in the big wide open ones, Supremacy and Galactic Assault, and things where it's like big open maps. The snipers can pinpoint where you're shooting from, and then they can get a headshot on you pretty quick. Explosive sentry is the exact same way. This is one of my favorite sentries, though. It does a ton of damage, although like supercharged sentry, you are pretty stationary, whereas mobile sentry, you can move around. So just my recommendation is never use the full sentry ability unless you're absolutely shredding an AT walker or a tank or just something, and you don't really care if you get killed at that point. It's just not the best for kill streaks if you're going to be standing still. And I think that's about it. Yeah. Yep, that is. Just making sure I covered all my bases here. So that's going to be it for this video. I do hope you all enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to smack that like button. And if you didn't, go ahead and leave me a comment. Tell me what you didn't like about it and what you'd rather see down below. Alright, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.